Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Weird. Why can't I hear you? I could for a bleep second, then you went away again. It was like,
Can you hear me?
now I can hear you.
I've been talking this whole time. No wonder no one was commenting and stuff. I didn't have the right microphone connected. I have a couple like actual podcasting microphones, but they just one of them's screechy and one of them's really low, quiet. It's nuts. But
yeah, we're getting ready that's my next project is to start a podcast at work.
Really?
So many projects. Yeah, so many in the fire. So they created this position just for me. So it's crazy. So I'm excited.
That's really cool. So
yeah, I've been a peer support specialist for 5 years.
I'm a peer support specialist as well. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
I'm oh my God, what's it called? CPSS and a CSA. And I've got a lot of the I have all the education to be a RAD PSS. I don't have supervision and all the stuff that but I have all the education for that. And I have over half of the education I need for my CADC. You have to have like so many hours, all the stuff, and I had applied for a position at a treatment center and they gave me the job. But when they ran the background check, some warrant came up from Ohio, some old ass shit. So I have to get that taken care of. Yeah. And so I caught up there and it's like, it was it's a misdemeanor child endangerment. Because I had got pulled over and had some stuff on me when I had my kid with me. And, and I mean, it's like, it's from 2015 or something, like some ridiculous, and I have to drive up there and turn myself in and deal with all that stuff. And I went up there 3 times. They kept continuing it, and then I have to get it taken care of. But it's just discouraging. Yeah. It's like,
and I had to do that too. They wanted me to facilitate groups and stuff, which was all great, but I couldn't have level 2 clearance. Yeah, because I'm a convicted felon, so I had to go through that whole process through ACA of, getting everything cleared up so that I could sign case notes, and now I can pass a level 2 clearance. But it was such a pain because now I'm in South Florida and I was in prison in Missouri. And so I had to go through the parole board, get all my papers. It was a lot.
Yeah,
it is worth it.
It's so much work. Yeah, it will be worth it. Like I'm gonna pursue it. I think definitely and get it. I've put in so much more education hours and stuff. So I definitely don't want to just give up on it. But I did kind of just start focusing in on my platform and my podcast a little bit. But I want to get back around to that because that's definitely my ultimate goal.
I hear you. I want to go get my, my CAD and all of that now that I have the level 2 clearance, because I have a bachelor's degree, but it's not in this. It's in human resources and accounting. So, but yeah, I want to go do that now that I have the level 2 clearance background done. I can pursue that. For a while I didn't want to because that hinders you.
Yeah. So thank you for being here. I read your bio out loud right before you got here. And so I'm going to just kind of turn the floor over to you. I like to let you tell your story, flow it however you want, wherever you want to start, wherever the story starts for you. I take notes as we go. I'll probably pop in a few questions as we're going, but I try to hold most of my questions for the end. But
okay, no worries.
I was just going to say, anybody watching and, if you have any questions for Angela, just drop them in the comments and I'll either write them down or ask them when I see them. And just for anybody on TikTok that's watching, we're doing a podcast. That's why I'm not accepting boxes. Okay, go ahead.
So my name is Angela. I'm an addict and in recovery. And, I was born and raised in Alabama. I was an only child. My parents were loving. I didn't have a bad childhood. I had a great one. I, grew up in a loving home. I excelled at school. I did cheerleading, dance, the whole 9 yards, graduated high school, went off to college like a normal person. And my senior year in college, right before I graduated, my dad was murdered. And that was life altering for me. I was very much a daddy's girl. And, it was hard because my mom had never worked and she didn't know how to even read an electric bill. Like, I grew up in a time where mom stayed home and, and I remember her struggling on finances and stuff. And I had to become the adult. And that was really hard. But at the same time, I was like, I'll never depend on a man now. Like, it really kind of hardened me a little bit. And ended up moving to St. Louis, and where I met my now ex-husband. And, we dated for a while, got married. I don't really want to go in details, but I lost two children at birth, and was told I'd never have kids. And just for some little reference of how my higher power works. So my dad was murdered January 24th, 1992. And I found out I was pregnant with my only living child, who's now 26, my daughter, on January 24th, 1999. And she was my miracle baby. But right after she was born, I had to have a hysterectomy. I didn't want her to be an only child because I hated it.
I want to real quick. Yeah, I just wanted to ask. You said that you lost two children. I know you don't want to talk too much about it. Did you pregnancies, or were they stillborn, or
stillborn? Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I buried a daughter and a son. They were both
I'm about to cry.
And that was hard. But so right after my daughter was born, I had a hysterectomy, and I kept complaining of headaches and really bad ones. And, the doctors just kept telling me, oh, it's just your hormones, once they level out, this, that, the other, female issues. And come to find out, I had a blood clot that had got to my brain. I was on holiday for work. I worked at a local sheriff's department, and it was a holiday, and me and my mom had taken my daughter to Chuck E. Cheese. She was 5 at the time, and I told my mom, I said, I just don't feel good. My head hurts really bad. My legs tingly, kind of. So I asked my mom, would she drive us home? My mom's like, yeah. So when we got in the truck, and I don't remember this, I'm only going off what I was told. I guess I started slurring my words, my face contorted. My mom ended up taking me to the ER, and I ended up suffering a brain aneurysm and a stroke. And, I was in a coma for a while. When my daughter was little, I used to always sing her to sleep with "You Are My Sunshine," brushing her hair. And I woke up after 9 weeks. I woke up to my daughter singing "You Are My Sunshine," brushing my hair. The ICU nurse had let her in there, even though she wasn't supposed to be. But so I always say my daughter saved me.
You said 9 weeks.
That's. Go ahead.
You said 9 weeks.
Yeah, so that's kind of where my story with addiction began. So I was given in the hospital. I was given Dilaudid. I had severe nerve damage as a result. And when I was released, I was put on non-addictive OxyContin. And, that's how they were marketing it and prescribing it back
non-addiction OxyContin. What does that even mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. But that's how they marketed it. They said because I was naive because they said it was, time released. It wasn't addictive like Percocet and those kind of things. So
is that they really said that?
Yeah, that's how they marketed it. That's why there's such a big lawsuit right now.
Oh, I thought so too when I opened them, yeah.
I'm a part of that settlement, but that's they really marketed it. The FDA even approved it to be marketed as non-addictive. And I was on it 3 years, and I took it the way I was supposed to. And then, they just decided to stop it, just cut me. And I was on some pretty heavy duty doses, and I got sick, but I didn't know I was in withdrawals. I didn't know what that was. And I remember I was really bad, and my mom, I thought I had the flu.
Why did they cut it off so suddenly? Why did they just take you off of it?
They said that the nerve damage was repairing itself, and I shouldn't need that level of medication anymore.
So they just took it away?
Yeah, they just took it away. And I got really sick, and my mom took me to the hospital and the ER because I thought I had the flu, like I said, the bad flu. And this is the doctor looked at my mom, and he told my mom, he said, she's just a junkie. Take her home and let her tough it out. In a week or so, she'll be okay.
What?
And I had a friend that was a nurse. Like I said, I was very naive to this whole thing. I was 40, and I had a friend that was a nurse who's like, I'll help you get off. I'll help you taper. And I trusted her. And anyway, come to find out, she was giving me H. She was muscle H into me.
Like injecting it?
Yeah. So she was giving me what was called China White because it cooked up clear or whatever, and told me it was morphine at first. And she was supposedly helping me taper.
Oh my God.
But, yeah. She's no longer walking this earth. Mm-hmm. But that's how mine, and once I knew what it was, but I knew that it took the pain away. And like my husband at this point, when I got sick, he became mentally abusive. He would say things like, if you'd have died, at least I could have collected life insurance and you'd be worth something. You're worthless. Because I was, I had to learn to walk again and stuff. And, he'd tell me things like I was worthless as a mother. I was never good enough.
I'm so sorry.
It was bad all the way around, Thank God for my mom. So I started buying H on the street,
How did you find out? How did you find out that that it was not morphine that she was dosing?
After about 3 days of her doing this, she ended up breaking down and telling me her boyfriend was actually the drug man, and she started saying, I'm going to have to start charging you. And by that time, she knew I was going to keep using it. I needed it. I, in my eyes, I was being super mom. Like, I couldn't be sick and be a mom, know? And
I feel you, girl. I know.
This was allowing me to be a mom and to function. And, not only that, but it was also numbing that mental pain of my husband and all the things he was telling me. Like, I wasn't having to feel that. I was able to just kind of shut down and survive. And
I had a question and I forgot.
Go ahead.
I know. What year? Like, what year was this? Like, what time frame was all this happening?
So 2006 was when I had my aneurysm and stroke, and this was about 2000 this was right at 2000 and the end of 2009, beginning of 2010.
So the reason that I asked is because you were like, I couldn't get off of it because I couldn't be sick and be a mom. So I struggled. Like, my daughter was born in 2014, and I actually got clean when she was born, and I relapsed a little bit after. But I struggled with getting clean because resources were not so readily available like they are now, and treatment wasn't as widely known, and there was such a huge stigma and shame that, like, I was terrified to go and say, hey, I'm addicted and I have a child and I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Because I was terrified they would have and they might have back then, because it was so fucking different.
And
that's why
that's what my husband held over my head. You know what I mean? Like, he always held that over my head. If I tried to leave, like, you won't be taking your daughter with you. And, this is my only child, the one I fought so hard to have. And it was like, that just wasn't an option for me. And nobody in my family had ever struggled from addiction. So I didn't, the doctors, and then when my mom originally took me, no one said anything about treatment or a way to stop or get,
that's what I was thinking.
He literally told my mom, she's a junkie, take her home and let her tough it out.
Yeah, because they didn't know back then, and they were hateful. Like, I had my daughter in prison and shackled to the bed, but I was completely clean. Like, when I got pregnant with her, I moved far away and got clean. And but I had like warrants and stuff, so I ended up going to jail, and I had her in jail, and they were so terrible to me. Like, I told a story in my women's group last night, and it was awful. Like, they let me sit in pain. You know, you're supposed to. I had her natural. You're supposed to ice. You know, afterward. No one told me that. No one told me that. It was so.
Wow.
They did not. When the doctor came in, now the doctor was really nice to me, but you only see doctor a couple times, like, and the nurses.
Couple times, yeah.
The nurses were shit. They were terrible to me. Like, it was. So I feel you. I know how that feels, and that's not. You know.
Oh yeah.
It's not.
It was. There's such a stigma around it, and you know, I'm grateful that I had a mom who supported me no matter what, and who loved me no matter what. She was there. So I had been, I guess, buying it on the streets, illegally and stuff for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. And I went and, got it in. And at this point, I'm no longer dealing with my friend who's the nurse. I've kind of cut them out of the picture, and because I was really upset when I found out what it was. I knew I had to have it, but I wanted nothing to do with them, and I had found my own resources, and
I was know where to get it. Like, if you because you were 40 years old, never really been in this life, it seems like to me, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden now you're addicted to heroin and you don't know what to do. So how did you even know where to find it or where to go?
So I went with her a couple of times to go pick up there to re-up, and the guy that they were getting it from pulled me to the side, and he's like, you seem like a really nice lady, and they are robbing you blind. So basically I was footing the bill for them. And he gave me his number and said, you call me directly. And that's how I got in the game, And so I ended up, just blocking them, like ignoring them, and doing it myself. And speaking of, I had got down there, I was sick because I had to get my daughter to my mom's, and I was having to wait on my husband to leave for work. And so, he doesn't know that this is what I'm doing at this time. He thinks I'm still getting medication from the doctor and stuff. He doesn't know any different. And so anyway, when I go to get it one day, just as I get there, I'm already in withdrawals, and so he let me go in the bathroom, and I overdosed, and he actually called 911. And I'm very lucky because most don't. I've heard the horror stories of people being thrown out in the alley, just left. But I'm very grateful that he called 911. He thought he had gotten everything off of me. They took me to the hospital, and this was before they had that Good Samaritan Act, where now if you overdosed, they can't charge you. And but they found some H in my bra and charged me with possession. And, they Narcaned me twice, had to hit me with the paddles. I think I flatlined 4 times before they got me back. So, like I said, I had worked most of my adult life at that point at a sheriff's department. I wasn't law enforcement. I did their payroll and benefits. So I wasn't I wasn't a cop. I like to tell people I was not a cop. And, so I went to jail, and my husband, like I said, he was mentally abusive, so he didn't bail me out. I sat there, and I thought, I talked to my defender that day, and we were. The end result was I was supposed to go home on probation, where 5 years probation, where if I walked it down, didn't get any more trouble, the felony would go away. And the judge overrode the agreements made between the lawyer and the prosecutor, and gave me 7 years in prison, DOC, for possession. And I did 3 flat. So yeah, I went to prison in Missouri, and I did 3 years. And I hate hearing your horror story because the women there that had babies were treated very well. Like the Amish would take their children and bring them there every weekend for visits.
No, I had a really good, like, after the hospital or whatever, I didn't get to see the baby for a month, but then I had an amazing caseworker. Like, I would never forget this woman. Her name is Bevan Van Walsenhoek. She set it up. She's not the one that actually brought my child, but there was a homemaker, they called her, and she brought my child 2 times a week to the jail until when I rode out to prison, it was 3 hours away. They brought her every other weekend, and on the weekend they didn't bring her, I got a milestone report. They called it with pictures, and she's sitting up, reaching for this, blah blah blah, and so I actually was really blessed as far as that part goes. But the hospital, like having her
the
in the
hospital part, yeah. And I heard the women that were in the prison I was in, they said they were well cared for, and the Amish community was literally right next to the prison, so they would bring the babies up there constantly, and meet the mother when the mother got out, hand the baby back over. But yeah, so. But anyway, I that was a shock for me, like here I was, this mother that had lived in a nice home, had, like financially didn't worry about anything, always had a normal job, and you know what I mean, just living a normal life, and then I'm put into this world that I'm like. And it's funny because I look back now and I say my higher power has a sense of humor because, I worked those years, and like the officers used to bring people, the jail was above us, and they used to bring people out, and they would bring them down to like our smoking area. And I'm a smoker, so you know what I mean? So, and they would get them to talk by giving them cigarettes. And I would hear the stories, and, and I would always think like, why isn't jail enough? Like, why don't they just stop? Like, that's how I thought. I didn't know any different. And I would be like, I'd be terrified to go to jail. Like, that would be enough to make me stop. Well, that wasn't enough to make me stop. So I say my higher power has a funny sense of humor because he's like, well, here, I'll show you why. And, I did 3 years. I came home, and when I came home, my mom was sick. And, when I left a 10-year-old daughter, a healthy mom. And I came home to a husband who's even worse, a teenage daughter who's 13 now, and a mom who is now on hospice. And that was hard. And I managed to stay clean for, I think, another year after I got out of prison. And I didn't know nothing about NAAA programs. I didn't know anything about, like, what I did when I got home from prison. And, my mom ended up making the decision to go into, like, an assisted living because she said it was too much on me to try to raise my family and take care of her and stuff. And she had a bottle of OxyContin by her bedside, and I'd been packing all the medical equipment up after she had gone, and my back was hurting really bad. And I was like, like I at that point, I still don't think I'm an addict. I think the doctors had gotten me hooked, and like an addict to me at that point was somebody who was homeless under a bridge, not somebody who was married with a child and had been normal her whole life. Like, I had taken opiate medications before and would take them as needed and stop and have bottles left. So I really didn't think that I was an addict. And needless to say, within a week, that entire brand new bottle was gone. I was on parole. I was scared of going back to prison. I told on myself to my PO, and she starts looking through my file, and thank God I had an amazing PO. I will give Tammy props because she's like, why were you never offered treatment? Like, why were you just sent to prison? And she got me into my first treatment center. It was a state-run facility, but you know what I mean? Like, it was my first treatment center. And, that's where, I detoxed, and I learned about AA, and I did that for, a while, and I was good. But the problem was I went back home to the same environment. Like, I always tell people, if you're living in a toxic environment, and you're trying to stay clean, it's very hard. And, I did. I managed to get 2.5 years, but I heard things like, how long are you going to have to keep going to those meetings? When my sponsor would come by, it would be like, why are they here again? Just, aren't you fixed yet? Like, and I just, it was constantly being thrown in my face. The abuse was getting worse, to the point that my daughter, I was just waiting on my daughter to graduate so I could go. And, at that point, like, I literally was having to ask if I could eat each day. Like, it had gotten that bad. And so my daughter graduated. It came down to me and him getting into a pretty bad altercation one night. And, I left. I was crying. He threw $100 bill at me and told me to go buy enough that I would overdose and die because the world would be better if I didn't exist. And, being a true addict, I did. I went and bought, and then I went and saw my mom, and my mom told me, she's like, Ange, just go home, get yourself together, go back to treatment, and then don't go back. Like, I'm here. I'll do anything I can to help you. Of course, she couldn't help much. She was on hospice in a nursing home, and so I went back home, and he had changed the locks. Like, I couldn't get in. So I ended up leaving, calling one of my girlfriends that I grew up with in Alabama. Ended up leaving, making it to Alabama, and I didn't have anything. And, I'm sick. It's so bad. And so I start looking through the yellow pages because I'm like, I just need help. And, of course, it's Alabama. It's 4th of July weekend. Alabama's backwards. Nothing, they don't do intakes on the weekend. So I ended up calling this 800 number. I didn't know where I was going. For all I knew, I could be trafficked, So I ended up getting on a plane.
What state were you in before Alabama when all that was going on with your husband and all that?
Missouri. Okay. So, yeah, I was in Missouri. And I lived right outside St. Louis. And
oh, that's right. You did say St. Louis.
Yeah, like I said, I at this point I was so desperate for help. I didn't care where I was going. I didn't care if they killed me or not. I just knew something had to change, and I ended up down here in South Florida, going to, a treatment center. Thank goodness for insurance, and that helped. That was a huge help, having being on my husband's insurance, and you don't know what he did for me, and. I hit the ground running, and I had $7 in my pocket and the clothes on my back, and no one to call other than my mom, who was on hospice and couldn't do a lot. And I worked really hard on rebuilding my life. I was going to meetings. I was doing amazing. I was back working at an event as an event planner, and I was in sober living. Like, life was looking good. I was proud of myself. I'd done it on my own. My daughter was proud of me. And COVID came, and meetings shut down, and my sponsor moved away, and my mom passed away, and I, lost my job. Florida was a nightmare for unemployment. I applied first week of March and didn't get my unemployment till mid-July. So, like, all of that time in between with no money coming in because there weren't any jobs, and I ended up relapsing. And but thank God for the people that I had surrounded myself with and had made a part of my circle, because they weren't having me relapse. They were literally chasing me down and dragging me to treatment, because at this point I was just done, And I remember thinking that I just can't do this anymore. I can't. It's either get clean or die, because I just don't have it in me anymore to keep going. And I did. My friend showed up I ended up getting arrested because I had another friend who I thought I was taking his car home, and ended up it was a rental car that he had stopped paying for. So I had the SWAT team surround me for Grand Theft Auto, and went to jail, got out, was sick, went to his house, and my friend showed up there and drugged me. She's like, "You're going to treatment, period. Done." And charges got dropped, thank goodness, you know. And that was the very last time I went to treatment. And that time, I decided to do something different. And so I, switched fellowships. For me, my solution was a 12-step. I'm that person that I believe there's many paths to recovery, and I support them all if it's working for you and your life's manageable. But my solution was NA for me. I felt finally like I fit in somewhere. And, I did all the work. And then I had no plans on working in this field, in the treatment center. None. I was going back to corporate. And, because money was always a thing for me, especially after rebuilding my life, like I couldn't see working for $10 an hour. I just, what? And, my sponsor's like, maybe that's what you need right now. Maybe a recovery job. That's what she called it. And she goes, it's something that you can do and humble yourself and just not have all the pressure of corporate. And so I started working in the field, and I started out verifying insurance, just my foot in the door, and then went on to being a case manager, and then, peer support specialist, and now I'm a digital engagement coordinator for a company that's in 6 states and has 5 brands of the industry under them. And I will have 6 years on May 29th. I'll have 6 years clean coming up. And yeah, I know it's an anonymous program, but I refuse to be anonymous. I recover out loud so others don't suffer and die in silence, and I always thought that my story wasn't relatable because of starting so much later in life. And, like I said, it was hard for me to open up at first. And then I heard a lady tell my story, and I was like, well, if she can do it, I can do it. So here I am today. And I have a 26-year-old daughter who's amazing and who's proud of me and loves me and tells me all the time.
Yes, that's so amazing. And I wanted to say too, the first thing I wanted to say is that, our stories are always relatable. I know you probably know that now, but yeah. I've heard a lot of people that, I love you, Mel. Thank you so much. They're talking over here in the comments. They're like, your story's really inspirational.
Aw, thank you. I always say, if I can just help one person, just one, like if I can make a difference in, especially women, like I really, coming from an abusive marriage and deciding not to go back, after 20 years of marriage, like that was, and finding who I was again, like that was hard.
I know, like, and through like the whole story, like it was crazy that like I was wondering, like, I'm like, wait, is she still with this guy, or through all of this, and and like I don't know, and then at the end you were like, he threw the money at you and stuff, and then I was like, so that's when you like left, when you split up. So I'm like, I don't know, like for him to be so unsupportive, like when you're talking about him saying like, why is that person coming here and how long you have to go to these meetings? Like, yeah, man, like just be supportive, be happy that you were clean and back to yourself. But
and it's sad because both of his parents were alcoholics, you know what I mean? And you would think that he would have a little bit more compassion, but instead I think it was the opposite. And but here's where what recovery gave. Here's one of the gifts I got out of recovery and actually working my program. At 18 months clean, I made my amends. We went to he came down here. We went to court. We signed our divorce papers. Went out to eat as all of us, me, him, and my daughter. And I sat across from him and my daughter and made my amends on the night of my divorce. And agreed that she was more important. I loved her more than I hated him. And agreed that we could co-parent on a cordial basis, so she doesn't have to choose between mom and dad being at her wedding, mom and dad being at the birth of her child. Like, mom and dad can coexist regardless of what has happened.
That's
and
really
I cleaned
amazing.
up my side. I cleaned up my side of the street.
That's all you can do. That's literally all you can do.
That's it.
I also was curious. I know you said you had like some issues getting pregnant or like, having children. Did you do anything special? Like, did you have to do like IVF or take shots or anything like that to have her, or just was a miracle?
So, it was a miracle. So I didn't know I was having problems, but after losing 2, I found out that I had stage 4 endometriosis. So I always had really horrible cramps growing up, and doctors always told me that was normal. And I ended up getting an OB when I got pregnant with my daughter, and I loved him because he kind of specialized in endometriosis, and he told me that cramps for a lady is not normal. You should not have cramps. Like, that is a sign that you either have cyst or endometriosis, and it could be something as mild as stage 1. I had stage 4, which was the worst, and the scar tissue was just taking over and blocking my tubes. And so it was a complete miracle that I even got pregnant. And then it was another complete miracle that she survived, that my daughter today is. And like I said, I believe that she was in to save me. I found out that I was going to have her the same day my dad was murdered, but 7 years later, like, it's just kind of surreal.
That's sad. I wanted to ask a little bit about your dad, and I know you said he got murdered, but they weren't like they weren't addicts or anything, right? What happened, if you don't mind?
No. So my dad was hit by, they believe somebody had mental health. The guy was never caught. So my dad was out changing the spark plugs on my mom's car back during the day when they had spark plugs, and there was a bunch of 911 calls. A guy was walking down the street firing off a gun, but none of the neighbors knew him. They didn't recognize him, and they think a stray bullet hit my dad in the heart, and he was killed instantly. But the guy was never caught, and people said he was acting very irrational and but yeah, they never did find the guy. At least not that if they found him, they didn't know it was the person that, had hurt my dad.
I'm so sorry. That's awful though.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask about your daughter. So you guys have a good relationship now?
Oh yeah. Yeah. There was, when I relapsed, she wouldn't speak to me for a year. It was a year before she talked to me, and she was tired. She's like, I kept saying I was sorry. And she's like, I've heard that so many times, and, yeah, she would tell me I was always there physically, I was always there to make sure that I was present. But she always tells me yeah, you were here, but you weren't here mentally. Mentally, you were checked out. I don't know where you were, and it was hard because, like I said, when I left, she was still 10. She was still a kid. And when I came home, she's this 13-year-old in makeup. And, I had missed a couple of milestones. And it was really hard. And I, at first I overcompensated out of guilt. And, but then I had to, be mom and let her know, you're not going to be disrespectful to me. Like, I'm still your mother. You're going to, but yeah, we've had our ups and downs, but honestly, she comes to me now with everything, and like, she texts me all the time, just out of the blue. I'm so proud of you, Mom. Like, keep going. Like, I see you helping others, because she's, she gets on my socials and looks, and she's amazing, and she tells me, how much she loves me, and yeah, it's pretty amazing what recovery's given me back.
I wanted to also touch about how, like, you had said when you came home from prison that you didn't know, like, NA and you didn't know what to do. That's not the first time I've heard this, that, like, when people were getting out of jail and they didn't know what to do. Like, yeah, you get clean in jail. Not easy. I mean, yeah, you can get high in there. Of course, there's drugs everywhere, but, like,
oh yeah,
easy to stay clean in jail. For me, it was. But then, like, coming home, like, I know you talked also about, like, coming home to a toxic environment. I can relate to that as well, because I grew up in a household with addicts, and that was all I ever had. So every time I would get out of jail or treatment, all I had to do was go back to them. That's the only place I had to go. So, like, I knew, like, in my head, I would never even, come here, sissy. I would never even, like, pretend like I didn't even knew in my head. Like, I always had the reservations, because I already knew what was going to happen. I'm just going to go out there. I would sometimes make it, a week, a month, maybe, like, whatever. But eventually I would be having that bad day, and I would come in the house, and they would just openly, right in the living room. So I'm just like, oh, hey, let me in on that, and you have to. For me, people, places, and things were so bad. And, like, I know a lot of people that still are in their same hometown stuff. And, like, and kudos to them. That's great if that works for them. But for me, it wasn't the town. It was the house that I was going to was so toxic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I definitely can relate to that. And like, so I really think I'm so impressed with, like, the recovery world anymore, because I know you don't know, like, a lot about my story, but I've been, like, in recovery since 2017, but I wasn't working recovery, like, at all. I white knuckled it.
I actually, my original clean date was July 4th, 2017.
Yeah. And but so I didn't know, like, anything really about recovery. Like, it wasn't big. It wasn't like now we say in my room, like, research I made, like, recovery is the new vibe. Now it's fucking everywhere. But there's so many resources when you're in jail. They're helping you line up. Like, you need a place you can go to sober living, this, that, what have it, the third. There's, like, programs for just and impacted individuals and all the things. And I think it's so fucking great, because
I do too. Amazing.
Yeah, because it didn't used to be like that. Like, hi, Leah.
No. Used to, you just either went to prison and you went to school, or you got a job on campus, and that was it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you went home. There was no, like, really anything to keep you. I heard so many stories of, like I said, in my 3 years, I would see people leave and come right back, and leave and come right back. And, I remember one girl was gone 6 hours, and next thing you know, literally 6 hours later, she's back. And, and it's, a lot of them will say it's because their life is better in there than it is on the street.
Yeah, I did. I used to, like, be relieved sometimes. Like, I know a couple times where I would, like, be in the back of a cop car and just, like, be like, I could, like, I get a little rest, with a little break, because that life is hard, man. It's hard every single day. It's not running and ripping. Like, never have a moment of peace. It doesn't matter. Like, if you have money in your pocket or drugs in your pocket, it doesn't matter, because it's not going to last. And like, I was so afraid of me. I was one of those people, like, I'm not going to be sick. I will not be sick. I did some dumb stuff to, you know what I mean? Like, desperation made you a monster. It did me. Desperation made me a monster. Like,
it did me too. I mean, I can't tell you, like I said, I know I did things that, I mean, if I, at first, I always had access to money. You know what I mean? My husband didn't, like, and for a while I did, like, because in his eyes, as long as he was giving me what I wanted, then I would do what he wanted. And, and then there at the very end, like, that's when he kind of cut my access, and I was desperate. I did things that hurt my child, you know what I mean? Like, stealing some of her games to go pawn, and, like, things that I would never have dreamed of doing. And I did them because it was either that or be sick, and I just could not fathom being sick. Like, to me, that was hell on earth. Like, I'd rather be dead than sick.
You feel like you're dying, like.
Yeah, I did. I literally did. And the anxiety and all of it, you know what I mean? And it's so funny because you can tell that part of it, because like once I knew it was coming and I was either on my way to get it, or, you know, it was like I knew that the guy was on his way to bring it. Like, it's funny, but like I would feel better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like,
if I knew it was coming, I would feel better.
Like, I will be so sick laying on the couch or in the floor, like I'm unaliving. Sorry, TikTok, like I'm dying, you know, and I'm like, doing that, and then like someone will come in like with like, come on, I got the money, like let's go, and then all of a sudden I'm,
let's go.
Yeah, like
I'm the same way.
Like before it even, you know, it wasn't even about the action. It was like a lot mental. Like, I know, like, you know, heroin stuff does have physical symptoms. Yes, I know that, but like. A lot of it is mental too, like for me.
Absolutely.
I'll put it on myself. Like, I have 3 more things that I want to talk about. The first thing is that when you found out that your friend, the nurse, you know, way back when, at the very beginning, when you found out that she was actually giving you heroin, how did you feel? How did you take that? Like, what was going on inside when you're like, I've been doing heroin? Because you've never done drugs, right? Up until that point,
right? Yeah.
Just your medication.
At first, I thought she was joking. Like, that was my first reaction, was she's kidding. But then once I realized like that she really wasn't kidding, like that's what she like.
Okay, thank you.
I freaked out. Like, literally, my first thought was, I'm going to call the police on you. Like, how dare you? That was my first thought. And then I'm like, and then it's like something clicked inside my brain, and it's like, but you can call the police, but you still need this. Like, you're not sick when you're taking it. And I was like, well, I remember telling her, well, I thought that was brown. Like, why is it clear? You know, because I'd only seen movies. And you know, she explained everything to me, and I was like, well, how do I know how much to take? And then I started asking questions, because I didn't want to take too much. You know what I mean? And
analytical mode kicked in.
Yeah. I was like, okay, how much just to keep me out of withdrawals? Like, I wasn't looking to be high. I was looking to not be sick.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, but at first I remember the first time I went to go buy it, like, I was terrified. You know, I didn't know what to expect. I'm expecting these gangbangers to come out, and like literally I'm freaking out, you know, and it was, and I was angry. Like, I was very angry. Like, but I hid it because I needed it. And so I really didn't say much. But once I had an in on my own and didn't need them anymore, then the old me come out that has no filter, and I flipped out on them, you know, and it's sad because I think it was about a year later she overdosed and didn't make it, you know. And,
I hate that, because she was sick. Like, I want to be mad. Like, when you were first telling me a story, I'm like, sick fucking people. But like, that's it. They were sick. Like, they were sick, you know?
They were sick too. Right. Yeah. And that's what I said. Like, people are like, well, she got what she deserved. And, you know, and at first I felt that way.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but did she really? Like, she was just an addict trying to survive like I was.
Yeah. And I've done stuff like that. Like, where not like lied and said, oh, it's medicine, but where like, I'm like, oh, here, dude, it's like a couple of people. Like, I had friends whose parents had money, and when I got on it really bad, and I knew, like, I knowingly introduced them to they willingly did it, but I was addicted, and I already knew that it was the devil, and they just maybe did some pain pills here and there, not really like more socially using, and I would be like, oh, here, let's let's get them hooked, because then they don't know where to get it, and then they're gonna have to, all the things.
Then they're gonna have to go through me, and then I can fudge it, and take advantage, and and that's what I'm saying. Like I think I had gone down twice with them when the guy pulled me to the side, and I was actually shocked. You know what I mean? And here was the weird thing, though.
Did they know that he said that he pulled you aside and said, okay?
Oh no. But here's the weird thing. Like it was kind of surreal, but like, how everybody, like I was going down into the hood to the worst place in St. Louis, and I wasn't afraid. And I'm like, I think back now and I'm like, what was wrong with you?
You were afraid of being sick than you were than people. I'm like,
that's what it was, because I was like, what is wrong with you?
I put myself
right into where all the shootings happen on the news every night. Like
walking right into a house with people you don't know who the fuck's in there. Sometimes I don't know about where you went, but I've walked into places before and there's 15 people in there, big gangbanging looking dudes, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not leaving here. And luckily I've never been in real crazy situations like that. Normally I just go and get my stuff. It's usually
me.
We've been up and up, but stuff happens all the time. Like you hear stories all the time where it does not go that way. But even then, even hearing those stories, I didn't give a fuck because I wanted what was in that house. You know what I mean? So I'm going in there.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just so crazy to me because I never, you know what I mean? And granted, they looked at me, here comes the rich white girl with the money, because I always went, I didn't come with 10, 20 bucks. Like that I wasn't going, and but I look back now and I think, talk about insanity.
Yeah.
Like to put yourself in a situation, and I'm very grateful because I have heard the horror stories, and I've heard, what's gone down with people and with women, and I'm very grateful that I didn't have to experience that. But it could have easily been me.
Yeah,
very easily.
100%.
And I thank God every day that it wasn't.
Yes. All right. I have one question for you. If you could go back beside yourself in your darkest time right now and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Probably. Oh God, that's a hard one. My darkest time. It probably would have been to because I think that was a huge part of, I just felt like I was not enough, and I was always trying to fit in, and I always cared about what everybody else thought. You know what I mean? As long as people thought that I had the picture perfect family and it looked picture perfect, then everything would be okay. And that's just not the truth. You know what I mean? Like, I think I said last night on the meeting, like, I lived in a beautiful home in a gated community on a golf course and had access to plenty of funds, and I was hiding in my room, getting high, crying, wanting to die. And but as soon as I walked out that front door, I had a smile on my face and no one knew. And so I think learning to like really love me and know that I'm okay, flawed and all, just as I am, and that everybody hurts and everybody feels pain, and because I'm a perfectionist, you know what I mean? And I felt like all of that was weakness. And so if I could go back and just tell myself that it's okay to be human and to love yourself.
Yeah,
definitely. More than care about what you think about yourself more than what others do. And because I think that recovery, I think addiction starts with that. It's the pain inside, and most of us don't like ourselves,
Yes, definitely. I also wanted to talk about, actually I have two more things I lied. I want to talk about you when you woke up in the hospital and you said your daughter was brushing your hair and singing to you. What was that like? How did that feel to you?
So it was kind of surreal. I didn't know kind of what was going on. Like I said, I've been out of it. I really didn't know what was going on, but I just remember hearing her before seeing her. I just remember hearing "You Are My Sunshine," and I was like, that is so weird. Like literally, it was almost like I went to sleep and woke up. Like that 9 weeks, you have no concept of time, and but then when I realized I couldn't talk, I couldn't move or anything, like fear set in. And I was like, what, am I dead? Like, cause I just wasn't sure. And I remember seeing her, and I think she must have been afraid too, because she saw the fear in my eyes. Cause like, it was shock. Like I remember it, and I remember seeing her. I remember hearing her. Then I remember seeing her, and then I just remember this tube, and I remember I can't lift my arm, and and then I start panicking. But I just, looking back on it, Mom, I think that's what brought me back.
Crazy because it's almost like her voice is like what pulled you out of it or something. And
Yeah.
Being like an optimist, but that's cool. That's so cool. Like
I always say she's my miracle baby. I say it all the time. I tell her that.
Is the job that you do now some kind of like digital, what did you call it?
So I'm a digital engagement coordinator. So what we've started doing is, so I have various platforms of social media. I also manage our websites, our LinkedIn pages. So I might do a video with one of our clients who's been successful, and they want to do one, you know what I mean, and put it on our website. I do the alumni meetings where, like I said, we have multiple brands up under the corporation name. So, and we're in 6 states. So, our alumni meeting is online, where people from all of our different facilities can come, and you know what I mean? And I do educational videos. I do lives with therapists where they come on, and maybe, on online support groups. And so I'll have one of our therapists come on and answer questions to just people who are in our group, and maybe they're struggling, or maybe they're new to this or whatever, and they have questions. So we'll have a therapist come on and just do a session with me where, they'll answer questions as honestly as they can, or talk about different topics that affect us, and give advice on coping skills and tools.
So I know you said your screening on TikTok is Recovering Out Loud. Is that it? And then last night I thought you were Dan. So do you know Dan? Is he any way involved with what you do, or?
So no, we're separate. I do know Dan. I have the Recover Out Loud. I did order from him. He's great. He does all the Recover Out Loud, like shirts, hats, sweatshirts. Like they're such a great company. Like they're amazing. So I don't know how I got hooked up, but he came up as a suggestion. And then I saw the brand name, and that's what our Facebook has been called that for long, and I was like, oh my gosh, he does clothing that's like my theme, that's like my statement that I always say. I say it at meetings, I say it everywhere. And I was like, I reached out to him, and I'm like, I need some stuff. So yeah, he's from Indiana, and he's a great guy. I mean, it's his family-owned business, but no, he started that brand on his own. And I think that Recover Out Loud is getting more and more traction. Like, not my page, but just the saying itself.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah,
more and more people are beginning to recover out loud. Like, they're not hiding behind anonymity anymore. And And I think that's amazing because I believe that it saves lives. But yeah, no, we're two separate things. So most of my pages are Recover Out Loud and Proud, but I couldn't use that one. It was already taken.
I love that. Yeah, we say on our platform, I love to say recovery is the new vibe, but that's why why like recovery, it's blowing up because recovery really is like spreading everywhere. And like, not to get into too much politics, but all this stuff that's going on is just because we're doing so good. Like in the recovery world, everything is getting so big and stigma is going away and XYZ, and then like now all that stuff's happening, and I'm terrified that it's going to go back to the way it was.
But I'm so happy that we talked about that, but like we had such a huge win the other day when they reversed the $2 billion funding. Like I was so ecstatic over that because $2 billion helps a lot of people out there suffering, and I did I did my story with NAMI, and I did the walk with them and stuff, and I did my story to share with the senators and the Congress, and
wow.
We need those, like we need that funding. We have people out there still suffering, and that's not okay.
I wonder how you become like an advocate or a lobbyist for that. I wonder.
So you can start off by joining NAMI. NAMI is great, even though it's the National Alliance for Mental Illness.
Didn't even know what that was.
Addiction's considered a mental illness, and it's a disease. So I joined them, and then I started doing the walks, the fundraising walks, and they have a place in there where you can share your story with them, and and just get involved.
Samsha, someone on TikTok said Samsha as well.
Samsa, my friend Chad Sabora, he's huge. He's from St. Louis. He's a very big like harm reduction advocate, but if you get a chance, look him up. Chad Sabora, Sabora. He is a huge recovery advocate, and
his name's amazing. What? I'm sorry. Tell me again.
Chad Sabora, Sabora.
Okay.
He used to be a lawyer, and so now he uses his law degree to advocate for people who suffer from addiction and mental health, and he advocates for harm reduction, and he marches up to the state capitol, and he's a really amazing guy. He helps people that can't otherwise afford treatment. I know he has been known to find places that will, help someone, and he'll help them get there. Like he's just a really amazing guy. He's in recovery, and
maybe I'll send you a message on the side, like off of, because we need to end the podcast. Yeah. Like I would love to know more. That's something I'm really interested in right now. I'm at like a juncture in my life where I'm trying to decide how to move forward, but I'm really interested in that. And I didn't know that it was like a real thing until like last night. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I have another friend that is a lobbyist but not for substance use, but anyway, so we just kind of got on conversation.
Yeah. Well, he would be a great person to talk to.
Yes, awesome. I'll reach out to you, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. But thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. It was an amazing story. Of course. I love it. And feel free anytime you want to come back if you have anything else. I do a lot of different things on the podcast. We don't always just have to tell journeys. We can talk about like relationships or whatever that is that we want to do. I'm working on some new things. New segments. Like I'm thinking about switching it up a little bit, where I do a Friday and Saturday, like switching it up a little bit on one of the days. And I don't know. So I'm trying to have some fun with it. So I'll reach out to you when I get some of that going. I'd love to have you back. I love your energy. You're amazing.
Thank you. You are too. I mean, I'm always down to talk if it's going to help somebody. So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my been ready. Used to hold myself back, my self-esteem damn bad. I gotta keep on chugging, ran through everything in front of me.